Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Well, here we are at episode 819. I can't believe I've waited 819 episodes to have my old dear friend, John Morgan, on. We're going to talk to John. We're going to find out all kinds of things about John and Morgan and the Morgan family. And it's just going to be great. It's highly motivating. He's a great personal interest story. I've known John since we were both at the University of Florida together, working our way through school. I want to welcome everybody to the show. I want to remind everybody we're streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. Look for us at Freed on Business or at Jim Freed. And as I said, we're talking about my good friend, John Morgan. And Mr. Miami Podcast Studio, could you bring on our today's guest, John Morgan?
Hello, Jim.
Hey, John. How are you?
I didn't dress up.
That's okay. I got you covered.
I just finished a walk. I'm here at the beach. I finished my walk and I looked down and I had like 10 minutes to get back here and I had to hustle. So here I am.
Well, thank you so much. Hustling is the word. You're one of the big hustlers in the legal world. I remember when I first met you at the University of Florida. We won't say how far along that was, but we were both working our way through school, and you really helped me achieve some of my initial goals, and I'm going to really thank you for that. More recently, when my family and some of my friends needed you, you were there again, and you made sure that your team treated us like family. So I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to kind of project all that and basically make this sort of like a testimonial and create a situation where you'd be able to project both your personal and corporate brand out there. But, the story starts basically after we first met. You were a law student at UF. You met your wife there. Then you graduated, and there was a personal situation that occurred that kind of thrust you into realizing that there was a real big issue with people representing them against the man, if you will. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it actually happened when I was a sophomore at the University of Florida. I got a phone call from my dad. My brother Tim had an accident at Walt Disney World. He was basically paralyzed from the neck down. My brother Mike and I rushed home, and there began the saga with Tim's injury. It happened at Disney World. Disney fought him tooth and nail. It was almost like he was an enemy instead of a worker. And through that process, our family was poor. We were powerless, we were hopeless, and that's a terrible feeling. And I never forgot that feeling. And, you're trying to help your brother. And so I didn't know what a personal injury lawyer was, but that moment with my brother, Tim, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to come back and take care of people like Tim. So after Tim had the accident, I finished undergrad in Florida. I actually sold Yellow Page for 18 months, made a bunch of money. I could sell Yellow Pages. And then I went to the University of Florida, went to law school, met you. We all became friends, became president of Florida Blue Key, which was a big deal back in those days. I don't know if it still is. And when I came out of law school, I had a lot of job offers, but I only wanted to do personal injury, and that's what I've done ever since.
Now, what is the most rewarding part of what you do, and how is it that you're able to keep the energy that you have for this sector of the law, working through what's arguably the largest personal injury firm in the country now?
By far. I mean, we have 1,100 lawyers. I don't know any PI firm with 100, but there might be. The most rewarding look is when you have a client who was dealing with the insurance company And the words in the insurance industry is deny, delay, defend, take the float, and push people all the way to the wall. When you finally get that day of justice, when you finally get that day of justice and those people have been made whole. And then the best part is the day it happens, when you're there hugging people and people have tears streaming down their face, and you have put them in a position not to get back what was taken from them, but to get back enough that they can go on. And the best part about it is, I was at the Kentucky Derby, and some woman came over the weekend, and a woman came up to me. She says, "I want to get a picture taken with you. You all represented my family years ago. You you changed our lives." And then she said, and I had witnesses there, Keith Mitnick was there to hear it. She said, "I just want you to know we named our daughter Morgan after you." And I'm like, that's wow. That whatever we did for her, it was so impactful that she named her daughter Morgan. So being a person who was powerless, hopeless, and helpless, to stand in the shoes of the people who are, and to say, no, you're not going to bully this person because they got me.
Now, John, I know that there's been lots and lots of different families that you've helped. Can you think of maybe one or two instances that really resonate, that kind of tell the story about, besides your brother's story, which is very telling and heartwarming, what's one of the real touching situations that you've been involved with?
Well, it's a whole lifetime of it. I think the one that I remember, one time I represented this little girl who was at the University of Florida. She was in this kind of doing cheerleading type things, and she fell and was rendered a paraplegic. It was a very difficult case. It was almost impossible. There was only $1 million in insurance, and we fought like crazy to get it done, and we settled the case for $1 million. That's all there was. So I brought her into the office, and I said, "Look, here's what I'm going to do for you." My fee was, 40%, $400,000. I said, "Here's what I'm going to do for you, Brittany. I'm going to waive my fee 100%. But if I do so, I want you to take this money and buy a house. I want you to buy a house like my brother has, where you have everything you need." And she did it. Now, I thought that was the end of the story, but then I got a card from her, a thank you card. And it was, thanking me for everything and telling me that she bought the house and sending me a picture of the house. But here's the part that made me cry. Inside the card, she had bought me a $250 gift certificate to Ruth Chris. I'd waived a $400,000 fee, but she gave me a $250 gift certificate. And I sat there at my desk and cried. The innocence of it. And later, she married another boy who was also injured, and he's in a wheelchair. And today, they both live in that house.
Gosh, I really don't know where you go from there.
But how about the gift card? How about the gift card? It was just a knockout punch, Jim.
I'll bet you that was the best steak you ever ate.
Oh, well, I did. I gave it to my secretary, and I said, you go to Ruth Chris. I gave it to my secretary. But it was, when you're sitting as a grown man at your desk crying in the middle of the day, you've been touched.
You just did it to me with the story. So that's a very powerful commitment and approach to helping people. How do you ensure that the people that are on your team, and I've talked to a number of them over the years, including your sons, how do you ensure that the people that are on your team have that same type of commitment, not only to the firm, but to the people that they're working to represent?
Well, look, everybody is human and they can do whatever they want. That's the problem. Years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I had a thought, which was I wanted to have transparency and automation. I wanted to be able to see everything. And I brought in a very bright guy and I didn't want to do it at first, but we built our own software. We built our own software called Litify, and we built it. And what Litify allows us to do is to see everything that's going on in every single person's case. I have operations directors over lawyers making sure that happens. In Litify, you have to, if you don't do X, the gate doesn't open to Y. And so Litify has changed everything for us. Litify was so popular that we started selling to everybody. We sold 60% of our company to Bessemer for $300 million, and they now own it. But we use Litify, and law firms all over the country use Litify, because what it allows us to do is you can be a lawyer, you can think you have autonomy, but you don't, because we're watching everything you do. And what we are able to do with Litify is to do it our way, every day, the right way. We can't have a lawyer, like if a lawyer wants to settle a case for $50,000 or more, they have to go to the big case committee. We have to look at it. We have to see it. So we micromanage the process, because look, sometimes people just need, money for something. And we want to make sure that our clients are never sold down the river for that. Last year, 3 million people tried to hire us for something. And so it's a big operation. We get, about 1,000 cases a day that we keep nationwide. So it's a massive organization. It's a massive deal. And look, risk management. I mean, I got to be very careful just for my own risk for legal malpractice, because one bad apple can cause a lot of problems. And Litify stops that.
So, I've seen your name everywhere, from the LED ring at Boston Garden during the basketball game. When I talk to the young person that I mentor right now from the University of Florida, he says, "Oh, that's the guy on the buses." How did you decide that you wanted to do this type of outreach to so many people and make sure that they were able to access the level of quality and service that you and your team provide?
Well, I never saw myself advertising on TV back when I was at the University of Florida. I was, as you remember, more of a buttoned up guy back in those days. But when I got out and started doing the work, there were some early people who were advertising. I went to those firms, and they were giving me their scraps. They were giving me cases that they didn't want to try or couldn't try, or cases they didn't want. I basically lived out of their dumpsters. But when I got inside those firms, I saw what was happening early. Bates versus Arizona allowed lawyers to advertise like 1978. So it was right around that time. Once I got into the belly of the beast, I saw what was happening, and I knew that this was the future. And I sat down with my wife. I said, we're going to take a lot of guff for being on TV, especially back in those days. I said, but this train is leaving the station. I went to the 3 firms who were advertising on TV. I said, look, I'm going to go on TV myself. They said, we're not going to send you any more business then. I said, I perfectly understand, but I wanted to come by and thank you for what you've done. And I went to the bank. One bank offered to lend me $50,000. Sun Bank offered to lend me $100,000. I said, okay, I'm a Sun Bank customer. And I went on TV, Channel 6 in Orlando. My credit was so worthy that they made me pay COD before they would run the ads. And people called, and I kept doing the same. I kept working, just like I was not on TV. I went to union halls. I drank in dive bars, threw darts, played shuffleboard, did all that stuff too, and kind of ran a parallel path of old school lawyer, new school lawyer with the TV. And today, there's 1,100 lawyers. We're in every single state, and every single day we grow. I got a saying at the firm: grow or die.
So you just mentioned your wife. I know your boys work with you too. Tell me a little bit about how many people you have in your team that are this generation and the next generation from the Morgan family.
Well, my wife and I met at the University of Florida. She graduated before me. She went to work for Ackerman Centerfit. She was the smart one of us, She's the corporate silk stocking. She's the top 50% or top 10%. I'm the bottom 50%. Without me, the top 50% does not exist. So for all of you, I made that happen for you guys. But she was really smart and really, really pretty and really, really good. And as I tell my children, the last thing you need to ask before you ask somebody to marry them is ask yourself this question, which I did. Is this the person that you want to be the mother of your children? And she was, and I was right. And a lot of the reasons that my kids have done so well is that Ultima is their mother. So we've had a great deal. I had some partners, it was called Morgan, Collin, and Gilbert. I had some partners I bought out in early 2000s. And when I did, I put my wife in there with me to make it Morgan and Morgan, because I knew that I wasn't leaving her and she knew that she wasn't leaving me. And we had boys in the wings. And so I've got me and my wife, and then at the firm, my three boys, Mike, Matt, and Dan, are all very important parts of the firm.
Yeah, I always tell everybody, the young people that I mentor, that the most important decision that they're going to make is the person that they go on the ride with.
No, I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. And also, thank God, because like I said, I especially wasn't that bright in math and science. I keep wondering what my poor children would have done with math and science after the third grade, because after third grade math, I had to give it to Ultima. But the good thing about Ultima, she's a National Merit finalist and Phi Beta Kappa. So I'm like, I'll do the spelling words, you do the math.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about our sponsors, Warren Henry. They've been our sponsors for quite some time. We're going to come back to John Morgan for the last word. So, John, stick with us. We're going to get to the bottom line right after this break. Right. Miami Podcast Studios, take it away. I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive. Look for Larry Zinn. He'll be on the show in the next couple of weeks. Very similar in nature to Morgan & Morgan, being a vertically integrated family business where they all pull together to make sure you get a great experience over and over again on your most important purchase of your automobile. I want to thank Larry, Warren, Dave Zinn, his grandfather is somebody I met when I was at synagogue back in the day. They're all great people. Eric Day, of course. I'll be seeing Gerald taking my car in for service. Remember, Warren Henry Automotive, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you can get every advantage you can from them. They've got their flagship store at 151st and Biscayne, where they have Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, and now Lincoln. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. Down in the Keys, they've got a great store that sells all their nameplate brands. They've got their award-winning store in South Dade and also in West Broward. Remember, you go there, you get the Warren Henry advantage. It's a place that treats my family terrific. My beautiful wife, my mom, lots of my clients and friends all go there. So whenever you're looking to buy or lease a car, go check out our friends at Warren Henry. Always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
I love that video. It drives past a bunch of the deals that I've closed here in downtown Miami. Give me a call if I can help you with your real estate. And phone's been ringing today from both Well, we got a call so far from Canada and another one from Broward County. So we're all over the place with that. I want to thank our guest today, John Morgan. We're here for the last word and the big takeaway. And we've heard where Mr. Morgan has been and where he is. John, the big question is, where do you go from here?
Well, a few years ago, as I started expanding and my children are younger with lots of ambition, we've opened up in big cities around the country, DC, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, St. Louis, Detroit, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Dallas, but really California. California is a country. So everything I've done in the South, I'm going to do across the North. I call it the South is my red state strategy, and this new frontier is my blue state strategy. And I've got great lawyers. We're getting a lot of cases. And so I believe in the motto, grow or die. If you're not growing, you're dying. And so I got a big emphasis on my blue states in America.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. Before we do anything else, I want to thank Judy for helping us coordinate and put it all together. She was terrific. She made getting with you together easy.
She's been with me for 27 years. I call her my right arm. I would be dead without her.
Well, she was tremendous. And I really have to say this coming directly from my heart. I want to thank you, John, for helping my family when we needed it, being there for me when I needed it, and always being there, treating us like family, making sure your team treats us with kindness and caring. So, John Morgan.
I'll say this, Jim. We've known each other a long time, and I tell people this all the time. Our old friends are our best friends, and you are an old dear friend. So happy to do it.
Thank you so much for being here. Stick with us in the green room, and of course, all they have to do to find you is go to forthepeople.com.
forthepeople.com, or on your cell phone, pound law, pound LAW.
Always there at the leading edge of getting connected. I want to thank our friend John Morgan for being here today. Remember, if you missed anything on today's episode, you can check out the replays on any of our social feeds, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, or Instagram. Look for @JimFried or @Feed on Business. You can head over to the @JimFried YouTube page. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you listen to audio. Please check out this and all of our past episodes. I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry. We'll be on with Warren Henry in the next couple of weeks, talking about the verticality of their business and how they keep the next generation involved and how they bring their special energy to your car transaction. And we'll also talk to Larry about the future of automobiles. Remember, everybody, I almost forgot, the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies. I want to thank our friends at the Bergstrom Center. We had Tim Becker on last week. So remember, everybody, the person wants to do something, finds a way, the other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen, just like John Morgan does. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. The rest of the show is yours. Miami Podcast Studios. Do your magic.